other things that I need to tell these people that are highly relevant. Now, which one of these people? You have John McCain, you got General Jones, you got Obama, you got Hillary, you've got, oh yeah, these are the new ones. This guy, I can't think of his name, I can't see his name, that is Obama's attorney. But it's not, that was the official White House attorney. But, by the way, he wasn't just the White House attorney for Obama, he had two clients in the White House, Obama and General James Jones, the National Security Advisor. This guy is under indictment connected to social media influence. That's coincidence. This lady, I can't see her name there. She worked with Obama at the White House. She also worked with the Atlantic Council. Almost every one of these folks are directly connected to the Atlantic Council. I don't know what the heck that place is, but it's got, you know, there's got to be some secret handshake that gets you into a back door somewhere there. I'm not sure, but the Atlantic Council has most of these people connected. Now, those are big organizations, and I don't want to steer away saying, oh, well, there's 6 degrees of connection, like, you know, Kevin Bacon here. These are all next people. I'm telling you information because I answered directly for 8 years to that person, the son of that person. And that person actually had a bigger office in our company than his son. I answered right to him. You think he didn't know? So what was going on? So these are good questions that we need to ask. There's one more thing here that I wanted to show, if I can find it here real quick. See, this is the what I was telling you about with the Atlantic Council. This lady has done something. There we are. There we are. Okay. One moment here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next thing here, and that is the second component. The collection of social media, the collection of information, because I touched on that but didn't finish it up, right? So there are, here we are right here. So one thing you hear all the time is about the dissemination and everything else with the dissemination and everything else with the dossier. What you do not hear is about what that company proposed to do for President Trump. Okay, here we are. So what that company was proposing to do for President Trump, which he refused, he turned down, and I voted for that man because I can't think of another politician that would. That company came to them and said, for like a couple $1 million, you're having a problem with your delegates. We can fix that problem. We can do a scan of all the 5,000 Republican delegates, and we can run social media psychological profiles on them. Now, not just social media. They've now, like ClearForce, right? ClearForce is a company that you'll see up here. Components of the ShadowNet and components of ISI were brought into and adapted to a new application, and that application is called ClearForce. That application combines not only mass collection of social media, your posts, your likes, your friends, it combines that with your credit history, with your travel, with your health, if your mother is in the hospital and this is going to cause or into a nursing home or something, and this is going to cause a financial burden to you. It collects all your criminal, real-time criminal, right? So if you get pulled over on the weekend, it's going to know by Monday, it's going to be in the database. It collects all of that information, the ClearForce application, which started out with components of the ShadowNet and ISI. And ClearForce is owned by, you saw a picture of Michael Hayden earlier, correct? Michael Hayden is and General Jones took the ShadowNet. Now, Michael Hayden was Obama's CIA director. All of these guys, all of these bad guys, all of these never-Trumpers that had the highest levels, the deep state we're looking at, they're all connected to this. They all have ownership, a lot of them, in these applications. ClearForce took components of the ShadowNet, added all of those other things, combined artificial intelligence to be able to search, to do a massive collection and a massive search, and to be able to categorize people based on their psychological and behavioral patterns. It's supposed to be able to, and they literally, if you go to ClearForce's website, it literally says on there who the board is, it says all the people that are involved with it, it says exactly what it does. It collects all of this information and then it uses artificial intelligence to create predictive behavioral models to determine whether you're likely to steal or leak, right? Kind of a problem for most people, especially I'm guessing this crowd being, Tea Party group, and you're not big on, this collection of data. Most people aren't. So now you've got the ultimate in collection, and they're using that to determine whether or not you're likely to steal, whether you're likely to leak. Companies, regular companies, businesses, are using this service. The company you work for could use this service. The next company you apply for could run your name. They offer this service. Could be running your name. You could be turned down for a job because a computer determined that you were predictively likely, based on your behavioral patterns, to steal before you ever have. You could be turned down for a job. This company, that ClearForce, it was started out as an application named ClearForce. Then they turned that application into a company, right? So ClearForce was built to provide NISPOM compliance after the Edward Snowden incident. Edward Snowden leaked all the emails, all the classified data in 2013. Everybody remembers that, right? Well, the government's up in arms. We got to stop this. Well, instead of fixing helping whistleblower protections and things like that would have prevented it, right? Instead of doing that, these guys came up with the brilliant idea of, let's create an application, the most invasive that you possibly can, that predictably determines whether or not you're likely to steal or leak, and use that as a compliance requirement for every company that has a clearance. So if you are a company, Boeing or anybody, and you have an employee that has a clearance, there's one simple way that you can maintain compliance to NISPOM, which, by the way, these guys wrote the rules for. So in order to maintain compliance to rules that they wrote, you can license their business, and they will run these continuous real-time monitoring of all of the cleared employees. So think about it. This one company, and by the way, when you look at the other people on this, like the board of directors, Dianne Feinstein's former campaign manager, a lady who I think is literally a sitting Democratic congresswoman in California, is on a board. She's one of the owners of ClearForce that has the ability to determine who gets a clearance. Now, what's to stop that woman or anybody from putting into the algorithm, I want you to tag every Trump supporter that has a clearance, and then flagging them? What's to stop them? It's a private company that we've entrusted in this. It's built on it's a business that's built by people who we entrusted with the sacred trust of a clearance as high as 4-star generals, the former head of the CIA. Do you think the former head of the CIA should be owning a company that does this? If anything, our government should be the only people that do it. And when people say, oh, the government can't do this, trust me, the government, everything that we did when we were working with the government was checked again by attorneys, right? We had to maintain compliance with the Smith-Mundt Act. We could not psyop Americans. That's a challenge to do when you're making a post online that anybody could read anywhere, right? How do you do that? How do you use influence operations covertly on a blog or a site that's hosted on a server in Tampa? Even though it might all be like radical Islamic people, it's hosted in Tampa, and Americans could go there. So it was a constant struggle. But we maintained compliance, very proud of that. We followed the law, very proud of that, even though it was a pain in the butt. And we called it the keys of the kingdom. We wanted the keys to the kingdom, right? Because that would let us do what we needed to do. But the Smith-Mundt Act prevented that. So in 2010, there was an article in Rolling Stone by a gentleman, Michael Hastings. Wow, I actually remembered his name, first time like forever. Michael Hastings was a former. Here we go. There it is, right there. Michael Hastings was a reporter. He did an article for Rolling Stone. In that article in 2010, it was concluded that and this was followed up, that the U.S. military in Afghanistan in February, March of 2010 used psychological warfare, the same thing that I developed. And by the way, I was on another contract in Afghanistan working for another company developing the same stuff for the for the Information Operations Task Force, IOTF, in Afghanistan. I was in Kabul when this article was done, when this happened. And what happened was somebody from the government, from the White House, instructed our military to psyop visiting senators, which included John McCain. He was apparently a victim. I don't think he's a victim in that. But they used the military to psyop American senators to get more funding for the Afghanistan war. Right? I told you it was effective. But when something's that effective, people can't resist using it for whatever they want to do, right? That's the huge problem with this. So when I saw that article, and literally I was there at the time, I knew that was McCain was, in my personal opinion, right? When you look at everything that happened, and McCain's connection to what I developed with the ShadowNet and everything, and then you see yet another incident where McCain's directly involved. Standing there, you've got a picture of an incident where there's a psyop happening, a psyop on Americans, and once again, another runaway general. Army deploys psyops on U.S. senator, and what, we got him again? Is this a coincidence? So I'm like, okay, so Obama's psyop using the military to psyop senators. How far of a stretch is it for someone who would psyop senators? And I don't believe he was a victim. I believe he was probably one of the architects of this. How hard would it be that if that was true, for you to put him being involved in the psyop, in the information operations of the Russian dossier, and everything that we've seen happen to our president, right? So again, I'm not trying to trash John McCain, but you saw my chart, you saw how closely connected, you saw his 40-year relationship. You don't go down to Best Buy, call up the Geek Squad and say, hey, can you help me, use psychological warfare to influence an election? No, you have to know the people. You have to be very close, because these are, actually it wasn't, it's not even illegal in 2016, because in 2011, 2012, right after this happened, and the problem was, if you actually read the article, the problem was this was like a violation of the Smith-Mundt Act. Well, how do you fix that from ever happening again? Well, you get rid of the Smith-Mundt Act, which is what Obama did within a couple years, right? And I would actually argue it probably wasn't just Obama. It was a Republican-held Senate and Congress, right? So it's the swamp, people. It's not, and I'm in here in a room with Trump Republicans, right? Am I here with Trump Republicans? And patriots, Trump Republicans, Americans. We are not, it's not a party thing. I'm a biggest supporter of Trump theories. If I thought for a second that Trump had done anything involved with this, I would be like, why, but I haven't. I couldn't. And in fact, like I said, I owe him an apology because people approached him. The people with Side Group approached him on a way to rig the delegates, and they said no. Who does that in politics? We are so blessed to have this president. I swear to God, who does that in politics? Nobody. To turn something like that down. And I would add, who else had a primary that was completely, contested? Obama. He had a pretty contested one in 2008, right? Extremely contested. Isn't it funny that right after he wins this extremely improbably contested election, he taps Jones as being his national security advisor, which is a great way to pay someone without actually paying for him, isn't it? Again, I can't prove it, but when you've got these same people directly connected and directly tied to trying to influence the delegates in the 2016 election, yet Trump turned them down, but it's the same people. Side Group, Wikistrat, they're all the same people. Board of directors, these are all the same people, same products, same everything. It's a big problem, folks. But nobody ever understands. Nobody sees the media wants to show you Russia. They want to show you, collusion. They show you how our FBI, a few people within our FBI have done bad things. And they do. But law enforcement overall is incredibly good. But you do get bad people. And when those bad people all get together, and as you saw with that chart, now I've got, I think, 8 or 9 people, human beings, that are directly connected, not Kevin Bacon, directly connected, like the next person, or owner of a company, or owner of both companies, right? When you've got that close of a connection, somebody please tell me why no one will ever call me back. And this upsets people when I speak in crowds, like, Trump supporters. Everybody here listens to Fox, right? Yep. What would you say? Now, you're pretty shocked with what I've said here, right? You think, wow, this guy's stuff should be looked at by the police, right? by intelligence agencies, by our government officials, right? Judge Janine's, I spoke to her on the phone in December. I spoke to Sarah Carter, and Judge Janine sent me a text back saying, I'm working on this now. Never heard from her. Well, I heard from her one more time 2 months later. I sent her a text, hey, I've never heard back from you. It's been a couple months. I just went down to Devin Nunes. I just faxed a request to Devin Nunes requesting an official briefing, a classified briefing. Is there anything he can do? She responds, Judge Janine responds back, I'm calling Devin Nunes now. I'll speak with him today. NRE, your issue. All right? Never heard from her again. Sarah Carter. And I don't care when WAPO, I spend a month with WAPO. They investigate everything. They verify everything. And then they tell me flat out, how does this doesn't indict Trump. So we're not interested in running the story. Now, when WAPO does that, and I have their email, right? I mean, literally, this is, it doesn't indict Trump. Well, that's kind of not the point. It's every American that should be worried about this, Democrat or Republican, but tell that to WAPO. But when someone like Sarah Carter talks to me on the phone for over an hour and works with me for several weeks, for a month and a half, right? And sends you a text back after a month and a half of working with her and says, we're running everything on Hannity throughout, we're going to break your story throughout the week on Hannity. And then I got the text, and I spoke to Judge Janine about this, and it's going to be on Judge Janine's show on Saturday. So they're going to run it out, segments of it, through, because it's hard to explain, right? And, short time here, I probably confused some people. We're going to roll out segments of it, and then gone. She's disappeared. Never heard from her again. Right? Why? So, Tea Partiers, right? You think you can believe in Fox? Well, they probably can believe in them more than anybody else. But if you think that they're giving you the whole story, do you think you guys deserve to hear this story? Do you think someone, and if I'm lying, do you think that someone should come out and say, hey, this guy's lying, he wasn't even, fine, challenge me. I've got everything fully supported. I was there for 8 years. My job is knowledge management, right? I'm a knowledge management officer. I've got everything fully digital, documented, and, court ready. That's my job, right? So why? Why don't they? Since December, we have people that knew about this. We have people at the top of the Republican Party here in Florida that have known about this 2 months before the November election. Do you think that Congress may have turned out a little different in the 2016 election if we were talking about Obama and his ShadowNet instead of Trump and his indictments, which were all garbage to begin with? But everybody's playing their little games. Everybody's got to play their game. And they don't like me because I don't play games. I don't dress normal. I pulled up here on a Harley. I don't play ball when it comes to my country. I love my country. And, all I can do is reach out to you guys and say, can you help me, right? Go to my website and share these with Judge Janine, with Sarah Carter, with Fox News, because I believe if it gets to the right, I know for a fact Sean Hannity knows this, unless either that or a text that I have from Sarah is a lie, right? Why are these? But why did Sean Hannity drop the thing with Seth Rich? Remember that? It was like Seth Rich, and then all of a sudden nothing. It's like he was spoken to by somebody. And when you're making when you've made $200 million, why? Why wouldn't you investigate this? Why would you shut down Seth Rich, right? So, I think we're good right now. What I would like to do is just take questions. Ask me any question you want. I will verify it, I will answer it, and I really appreciate your time tonight, folks. Yes, sir.
Let me ask a question that
yes, sir.
It's a little off topic, but you should be able to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
The EUFI chip, the UEFI chip,
okay,
that replaced the BIOS chip.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent does that make all PCs vulnerable to infiltration below the level of the operating system?
Well, all of those inherently, none of the IoT, the Internet of Things, even in those, the smaller you make it, the less processing power that it has to be able to process encryption, right? So encryption, when you're making something, when you're sending something and you're locking it, like 256-bit or 512-bit encryption, I won't go nuts on you, but when you send something like with the government, if Hillary, because I was an information assurance security officer, right? If Hillary, there's a reason why she should use her government computer, because when you log into your government computer, you use a CAC card, and it uses PKI encryption, very strong. So everything that you send via email is going to be encrypted. So even if the Russians had gotten it, they wouldn't be able to decrypt it for about 1 million years on current technology. Although, don't laugh, because that technology was just gone out the window with quantum computers that can actually decrypt it in about 1 second. But you still want to try, right? You still want to give people that feel-good thing. So when you make things really small, it doesn't have the processing capacity to be able to decrypt or encrypt something, right? So like all the refrigerators, wow, I can text my refrigerator. That's great, but you can't secure it because these small devices, your thermostat in your home, all of these IoT things, and like what you were talking about.
I think you answered a different question than I asked.
Mm-hmm.
The UP chip is a replacement for the BIOS chip.
Oh, for the basic in out. So you mean the replacement for the BIOS?
Correct. And
Okay.
There's a ton of extra space on it that's not written to. I have about 200 pages on it.
Well, I can't answer that specifically, but I did sort of answer that, right? So it's going to have, that's where the encryption is going to happen. Well, at that,
Normally,
close to that, the next layer up, right? I think I get my layers screwed up, but that's like either layer 7 or layer 1. Layer 7 is the system. You're talking BIOS, layer 1. The next layer up is where your encryption is going to be and such. So as far as the BIOS, the new BIOS, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about there as far as any like missing code or something. So I would step back from that a bit. But encryption is a problem. Security is a huge problem. That's something I'm addressing. That's something I'm trying to focus people on. What I'm talking about now, that's a security
Let
issue.
me give you another one. You can't do that one. Then we'll just get one.
Yes, sir.
Apparently, the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to, when Saddam's centrifuges, we
Mhm.
sent the virus over to kind of have them crash.
With the Iran, the Stuxnet virus.
Right,
Mhm.
Stuxnet, right. And then it ended up coming out and
Mhm.
hacking a lot of computers around the world. I think
Actually, Saudi Arabia, Aramco lost 50,000 computers from Stuxnet. Right? So we don't know who made it. We don't know if it was America, Israel. We don't know who made it. But it doesn't matter because it was reverse engineered. So we got this quick feeling of success, and then the people we used it on reverse engineered it and took out 50,000 computers in Saudi Arabia and did it with the last image burnt into that computer was a burning American flag. Right? So it's like psychological warfare, right? It's like IIA, the covert aspect, right? If we can trick people into doing something, that's great. It's also a bad thing. What if IIA is used? What if someone uses all of that data, for example, to scan all of the profiles of all of the DNC employees in where Seth Rich worked, right? And they used the scan, like from a ClearForce scan, a very detailed, and then analysts were able to pull that information and determine that, hey, this individual is a prime target for a socially engineered influence operation. And instead of actually hacking the emails, using social engineering influence operations, get someone like Seth Rich to put them on a thumb drive and walk out with it and give them to you, right? There's an unlimited amount of power. What if you could use that and scan networks and scan profiles and find someone who you could influence into walking into a mosque and start shooting people, right? That's what this is capable of. Why wouldn't you use it? It's a natural progression. Why would you stop at trying to influence bringing the Sunni and Shia together when someone else could use it to create a war, to cause a war? These are things that we need to think about. Democrats just love it. Oh, well, it's okay if Obama did it because it's going to be turned around and used against you. And we need to have this conversation. We need to get the Smith-Bunt Act put back in place at a bare minimum. And then we need to start putting laws in place. There's a thing on my site I just shared it recently. Please go to it. It was a Q thing. I don't even follow Q at all, but they had this this video of an undercover video of this guy who is one of those guys that posts all the time at the top of the Trump thing, right? Just harassing Trump all the time. Well, the guy's on video saying how he's paid to do that from an orchestrated hierarchy of people. He's a contractor. Does that sound like anything I've described to you? Exactly. He's a tactical IIA contractor. So these things are being used against that. Yes, sir.
I believe they're already using this program for recruiting purposes before you even go into the office.
Mm-hmm.
My question is the United States Army chipping soldiers, because this is all extraneous, this information is all outside. So instead of leading, just make them all robots. But I think that, either through artificial intelligence or transhumanism, this is what the projected path is. Is the United States Army putting chips inside of soldiers? Because I've seen...
I wouldn't be able to answer that, but DARPA does some crazy things, right? And I'm usually like, wow, that's cool, but it's not. So that'd be interesting. Yes, sir, in the back.
What can you tell us about Lisa Barsumian?
Who?
Lisa Barsumian?
I don't know. I don't know.
Rob Rosenstein's wife.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I've never looked at her.
How about?
I'm a man of limited resources,
Well, I don't
right?
get out much myself.
And I really wish I had, because when I spend, it doesn't take but a few minutes. I have no resources, right? And I'm able to put 8 people together on my chart. If I spent 5 minutes on that, I would probably suspect if it's connected to the dossier, it's probably going to be within 1 or 2 steps from Jones, from Michael Hayden, from Obama, from the top sphere of the tip of the spear of the Obama's influence operations.
How about the senior executive service in the CIA?
The SES?
Yes.
Not familiar with the SES. Like, I've worked for several SES. One of them was just a brilliant man, so I know that there are some really good SES people, but I don't know of anybody in particular that would have, I don't know what that would be in line with, but SES are generally pretty well qualified, pretty well vetted. They have to be approved by, I think, Congress or Senate, one of the two.
Holds a cabinet post,
Mhm.
unelected.
The GS-15